Welcome back to another episode of the Ball Babble podcast, episode 12, proudly brought to you by TipTitans, the best in the business. This week's show, we got plenty on. AFL finals heading into prelim week. We've got a little NBA draft for you, bit of fun there. NFL week 2, and some mailbag questions. How's your week been, Tom?
Fucking shit house.
I thought you might say that. Well, we'll hit that pretty soon, I reckon. It's going to be most of the pod. It's going to be a bit of fun for me, not too much fun for you. Let's jump straight into the mailbag.
Oh, this should be good.
So the first one, this comes from Zach. He wanted to be named. So why haven't you replied to the group chat yet?
I'm not giving any Crows fan the satisfaction. He'll get us enough satisfaction out of listening to this spot, I reckon.
I reckon he's been waiting for this one for a while, hoping that Port would go down.
Yeah.
Leads us into the next one. Who do Port sack first? Coach, CEO, board,
Nobody.
the runner?
Nobody.
He says
There's a few players that I think probably play their last game or will have limited roles next year.
last game in Port colours, maybe?
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, you can't really sack the coach, just signed into a 2-year deal.
And we'll get into this later, but it's not Ken Hinkley's fault that Hinkley can't go out there and get a fucking clearance for him.
He can't, but he's been the constant.
Yeah, I don't look at this and go, it's Hinkley's fault.
What about Koshy?
No, I don't have an issue with the board. I think realistically it's where Port probably deserve to finish. Young Liz, they had a ripper patch during the season.
13 in a row.
Yeah, peaked probably too early.
The one thing I was actually talking to my brother-in-law about last night, why they decided they had to re-sign Hinkley in August when he's had all these struggles in September.
No, I'm fine with Hinkley coaching. I think the boys like him.
I don't know if that's a great thing. He won 2 finals in 10 years or something.
Yeah, no, I'm not putting... I think he's taken I don't think many people expected Port to be a serious contender this year. Not that they turned out to be a serious contender, but nobody had them pegged for the top 4.
But if you finish top 4, it's kind of like, well, this is who you are. You won 13 in a row.
Yeah. I mean, there's excuses.
Sounds like you got plenty of them. I thought you'd be coming in on it, not me.
No. I'll get hot in a second. I'll get hot a little bit later. I'll save it for now.
Alright, and the last one, can GWS go all the way? I reckon yes.
That'll be scary for Collingwood.
I think it's scary for anyone. The way they play their footy, they're such an even team. They've
I
got so
said to
many
you
weapons.
the other day, or today, I shit my pants every time Lockie Whitfield got the footy.
Yeah.
It's just cut you open. Cornelio, I never really maybe rate him a little bit more after the Saturday night.
Yeah,
they
you've
got some
those
nice
ball
pieces.
users. Those ball users just really cut you up when you turn the footy over. And
Yeah.
when they're streaming out of clearance, they're really scary. And yeah, like we said last week, and we'll cover it more.
They're in
weapons.
form.
Yeah.
They're peaking at the right time. They had a ripper end of the season.
Yeah, exactly.
And they got by all reports, Kingsley has just got them up and about.
Well, they played a very similar way to what Richmond did.
Yeah.
Just kept moving the footy on, handball forward, take the grass if you've got it, and just move it quickly. Because what defence likes the footy coming in hot? No one.
There was some pretty elite footage of Kingsley talking to the GWS players over the last few weeks, saying that he believes in them probably more than what they do.
Yeah.
And he thinks they're pretty close, and obviously they are.
Yeah.
What a first season that would be if he could get them into a grand final.
It's a real 2017 Richmond vibe about him. Peaking at the perfect time, style of footy that's aggressive. So a lot of the teams these days are scoring under 70 points winning finals, where they're scoring over 100 every time.
Yeah, free flowing.
And they're just going, and you got to stop them, and you got to be able to score. Otherwise, you're not going to beat them.
They're just, I think, so smart by GWS to pick up a coach that played in Port's 04 premiership. Because that's the recipe to win.
The footy factory of coaching, isn't it?
That's a recipe to win premierships.
Your dad sent me the list the other day. If Josh Carr takes over the job, it'll be another
Yeah,
name.
there's heaps. Dimmer.
It's 11 or 12.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
Yeah. So, he's done very, very well. They're a pretty scary team and they're up and about.
They are. All right, well, let's review the week just gone. So, the Friday night, D's versus the Blues at the G. I mean, amazing finish. Blake Acres kicks the goal. He's the hero at the end.
I feel like it's deja vu from the conversation that we had about the D's last week. Like
same shit, really, wasn't it?
pretty much. Like had every opportunity, probably should have won.
They missed their shots again.
Yeah.
Bailey Fritsch, I think they had said he kicked 9 from 9 from that spot on the boundary and then misses, and BT was like, well, not in finals.
Yeah, I feel as like I've heard like a few people give Gorney a bit of stick for missing that left foot snap. Like
It's a ruckman.
exactly right. Like
It's a long way down.
Yeah, he's not the most skillful player, Gorney. So he tried. I feel bad for him. You know, he had that touch on the goal line, trying to knock it back into play, which I think it probably still gets touched if he.
Yeah, I think Pitnet's going to touch it anyway.
Yeah.
It just looks bad because it's his, but like someone's got to touch that.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. And he was trying to do the right thing, just get it back into play to try and get a goal out of it.
Yeah.
I
thought Carlton's ball use going inside forward 50 in the third quarter especially was really bad, and I was like, this is going to come back to hurt him because actually we're on top pretty much the whole quarter.
Yeah.
They just kept turning the footy over.
Oh, there was a few passages where it was just like back and forth.
It was like what you said last week, like finals footy. This was not good to watch. It was like
the difference
it was
is like
contested, but it wasn't great footy.
no, it turns into just a rock fight. Like I think, and we'll talk about it. Like GWS obviously got into their game style.
Yeah.
But in this game, it was just it was a rock fest, and it was whoever could kick more accurately. And that final moment, Akers gets that one at the end there, and blows into a prelim.
Yeah, wingman special went from wingman to wingman to wingman. And
fuck, he almost missed it.
I thought he had for a second there. I don't know why he played on either, because if he just kept going, like if he'd marked it, gone off his mark, he could have milked another 30 seconds, and there's no way they can lose.
Yeah.
Whereas he plays on, maybe just wanted to make sure he kicked it. I mean, and he almost missed it. But yeah, I mean, I reckon if he had his time over again, he'd probably go back off his mark, kick the goal, and they've milked it, and there's probably 10, 15 seconds left.
So who do you reckon's had a more disappointing season, Port or Melbourne?
I think you'd probably have to say Melbourne because they've gone 2 years in a row, straight sets.
Yeah.
They're probably a team, they're in their window right now, whereas I think you guys have still got a bit of time in your window.
Yeah.
They've got all their guys, all their best players in their prime, and they've fallen short again, not to get to a prelim 2 years in a row after winning the flag. They really could have built with dynasty, but they've just not been able to perform when it mattered.
Yeah. I think if you look at their team on paper as well, like they are a serious football team, obviously.
Yeah,
like,
a lot of those guys played in the premiership.
Yeah, there's not too much change to that team. Yeah, it's definitely, I think, a lost opportunity for them to have either gone back to back or, pick one up this year.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 or whatever it is. Like, yeah, super disappointing, and yeah, they'll have to make some changes because the way they play their footy, it just didn't stand up. Like, you just can't expect to keep bombing it in and have no real key forward to take any marks. And like they gave up marks to Wiedering and McGovern, and even Brody Kemp was taking intercept marks. Like they're just a bit too predictable.
Yeah, definitely need a key forward. Obviously, the Ben Brown pickup hasn't worked.
No.
And they traded Sam Wiedering.
Wiedemann.
Wiedemann.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting one. If we look at Carlton, I think Sam Walsh has probably played 2 of his best games in a row.
Fucking DeConning, I thought was so good.
Yeah, well, I said last week, as soon as we said Mackay, and DeConning comes in and just looks a completely different
He kept
player.
cutting the game in the first quarter.
Yeah.
Melbourne jumped out, and then DeConning kicked back-to-back goals from big marks.
Yeah, he had a really big game, just a big impact, and took the footy away from, Gawn. Couldn't really chop out as much. Lever was really good early, and May was still pretty good, but it just meant they had another weapon, someone that could take marks, and he's good at ground level as well.
May did a pretty good job on Curnow.
He
was pretty unsighted.
I thought he beat Curnow comprehensively.
Yeah, easy.
His body and his strength was way too good. But massive game. So well done to the Blues. They go in, they're going to travel up to the Gabba this week, so we'll cover that shortly. Now the big one, the Port GWS. So obviously, like the scoreboard flattered you in the first quarter. I thought they were dominating clearance already, and you guys were just super efficient. Willie Rioli pretty much kept you in it early, and then weighted numbers in the second quarter, and you probably should have been down by 10 goals at half time.
Yep. They just got fucking smashed out of the blocks.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. I think, Port kicked a couple of early ones. But GWS, Port just couldn't get their hands on the footy.
Yeah.
And I think it was a real tactic of GWS, just controlling the ball. The total disposal count was ridiculous. It was almost 100 disparity between the two teams.
I think in the, at half-time clearance rate, they were up over 15 clearance already.
Yeah.
And it was just, they kept doing it with their bad kicking, and then you had a bit of a fight back in the third quarter. But all they needed really was to kick one, and, it would kind of stem the flow a little bit. But just too many passengers really, in the first 3 quarters especially, because then in the last quarter I think he kicked, was it 1 goal 9?
1-4 to start the quarter when they could have got back in the game.
Yeah, so really kickable ones like Bergman, Powell Pepper, snaps from I think it's McAtee, Burn Jones.
Even in the third quarter, Lord had a shot.
You kicked the last 4 points of the third quarter.
Yeah, well, Lord had a shot to put Port down. If he kicked it, they would have been down 2 goals.
Yeah.
Misses. GWS go down the other end and score.
Yeah.
And then they just couldn't bridge that gap, that 4-goal margin.
Yeah.
But, so disappointing.
Yeah.
I think it's where they are, being realistic, they need some improvements in that team. I think it's obviously super exciting with that midfield group.
Yeah.
I think it showed how much of a young group they were on the weekend, though.
They just got bullied a bit.
Yeah, and you have Horn Francis, Rosie, Butters, they're all on the fly at stoppage.
Yeah.
And all it need, they would go on
the... You're going against Tom Green, who's just a ball.
Yeah,
Cal Ward's super smart when he's in there.
But, Port take a flyer, move past the contest, bounces GWS's way. They're just really playing Russian roulette at stoppage. And you can't do that.
Especially when you don't have the number 1 ruckman in the game. Briggs was the best ruckman in the game, and you've got Lysette, who just didn't look like he's up to it. Gets subbed out.
Yeah, it's... I don't
your
want
best ruckman is your banged up centre half forward.
I don't want to go in on Lysette too hard now. I
don't think he plays that many games next year.
For any team that he plays at. You can't...
I think I've always liked Port. He's just there for backup.
Yeah, I've always liked him.
He's going to go for a ruckman.
Always liked him from he's just that big body. He competes. He's at his best when he's throwing his weight around, coming in as the third tackler. He's really good at falling on smaller players, and that's what you kind of want from that big ruckman. But Briggs fucking destroyed him. Briggs had 8 clearances.
And Briggs is a good player.
Lysette had 6 touches.
Yeah, that's an absolute smashing.
And in that first quarter, I was screaming out for Dixon to get on the ball. And it happened probably 10 minutes later than it should have. They just needed somebody to get in there that could body with him because Lysette was just getting mauled. And I think there are excuses. I think, obviously down back, that back 6 on the weekend, I reckon I would have beaten Mackenzie on the lead. They couldn't move.
Yeah, we said last week that's what we thought. He just can't have to play the deepest back. Yeah. But even when the footy was coming in kind of on his head, he just looked like he was panicking. Yeah. Gave away a couple of free kicks to Hogan.
Oh, and the footy was coming in hot as well. And clean. That was the issue. You couldn't touch him further up the ground to slow it down.
No, midfield put no pressure on.
But definitely, I think you need a ruckman and some key defence reinforcements. So I think that's what they're looking at. Sounds like they've dropped out of the Grundy race after I declared he was coming a couple of weeks ago.
Shows how much
So Jordan Sweet seems the one. Don't mind a young... I feel they need to bring in a ruckman that's going to play with this midfield group for the next sort of 5 to 8 years.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any point bringing in a 30-year-old.
No. Yeah, Grundy's not in the age demographic of your midfielders.
No, he'd probably give you 4 years maybe, but I don't mind them going a little bit younger.
Yeah. To
try and find somebody just to compete. And they don't have the ruckman on the list at the moment. Sam Hayes is, unfortunately, I just don't think an AFL footballer is good in the contest. No, he'll end up somewhere else.
Yeah.
Good in the ruck contest, but he is non-existent around the ground.
Yeah.
Bryn Teakle, they've taken a flyer on, but he hasn't really worked out. And Dante Vicentini, he's pretty young.
Yeah.
Got thrown in the deep end this year. Definitely not ready, but he's one that probably stays on the list. And then they just need some key defenders, like a defender that's over fucking 180 centimetres.
Yeah.
Because Aaliyah, the last month essentially, has had to play like on the best key forward.
Yeah.
Which is not his role.
No.
You want him to be peeling off.
Yeah.
Which he just hasn't been able to do. So hopefully Radigalia looks like Zach Brennan Thatcher. I always get his name confused.
Yeah, you know he had the most goals kicked on him in the AFL this year.
Yep. But he's over 180 centimetres. I think he's about 6'4", which they just need some big bodies.
Yeah, I mean, Cleary should be back next year.
He'll go.
He'll go.
I reckon, yeah. He's not contracted, so somebody will pick him up, I think, for some reinforcements. Yeah. But he's undersized as well.
Yeah, but he's just a better one-on-one defender.
Yeah. So. It just fucking sucks going out in straight sets, though, let me tell you. So shit. I feel like the karma bus has hit me after the carry on the Crows poster.
I saw that quote that came back, like Stephen Rowe, I think it was like, when all the poor fans were giving the Crows fans shit, and it's like, oh, I'll taste your tears when you go out in straight sets.
Yeah. Fuck you, Rowe.
Right. So, yeah, I think something's going to have to change over the off-season, because this just kind of keeps happening. Like, this is kind of what Port have done. Like, you look really good in the season, really good minor rounds, and then in finals just can't manage to get it right, can't peak at the right time.
Yeah.
It happens too often that, I think just doing the same thing over and over, hoping you bring one or two in, is going to change the wheel. I'm not sure it's going to.
Yeah, I think obviously needs the new group to be the ones that step up. Like, we've passed that grey bloke, throw Jonas in there, Paddy Ryder, that group, like, didn't get it done.
Yeah.
I think now you almost have to just go, right, this is Butters, Rosie, Horn Francis. I thought Rosie was pretty disappointing. I thought Horn Francis was actually pretty good on the weekend.
Yeah, he was alright.
They need the forward lines a bit. They just don't have a big goal scorer. They have all these guys that like chip in throughout the season. So like Finlayson obviously had.
I don't know why they didn't play Evans. Every time he plays, he kicks goals. Well, is he any worse than Jed McEntee? What did he do?
McEntee's in there to play a role, which
but he didn't play a role.
He didn't.
I don't really get.
He had the most tackles. He had 8 tackles, McEntee, which is in the team for pressure.
Yeah, I just think like finals, you need someone to go and kick goals.
I feel like there was a bit of a regression with Marshall this year. Like last year, he sort of announced himself.
Yeah. And
then this year, like he's been in and out with injury and just hasn't been able to sort of. We need him to become that number one forward.
Yeah, it needs to be able to have.
The promising thing is like Ollie Lord sort of come out of nowhere and shown some signs, so he'll be better for it. I think there'll be a lot of guys that will be better off with the experience of a lot of the young guys.
Yeah, playing finals is always good for that.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Boki. Like, he was probably one of our best players on the weekend.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
I think
apparently the rumour is that the board really don't want to give him another year. They don't want to offer him a contract. But the fans are pretty up in uproar that they really want him there. They want to keep him there. Get him. I think he's 348 games or something.
He's 23rd all time. I heard on the weekend.
Yeah, he's close to 350. I think that.
That'd be a travesty if he ended up playing a year somewhere else. He was so loyal to the club, but no, we can.
I don't know if anyone takes him.
To Geelong take a flyer on him, like.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's not the type of like the Isaac Smith. Runner.
No, I think he'll just get another year. I think that's what
I don't
happens.
think he probably plays 10 games of AFL and the rest are sample and a few at the sub.
Yeah. It just sucks.
Yeah, it's going to be a long off season. Alright, let's move into the winners, the teams that do know how to win finals.
Yeah.
We'll go Friday night, Pies GWS. It's already a sellout. Nick Dacos is back. Maynard's in. Stays in, probably goes to Toby Green. It's going to be a fun game to watch, I reckon. Collingwood are going to have to score if they want to win. They're going to have to find their mojo again because they haven't had it for a couple of weeks, so they're going to have to find it.
Agreed. I almost think Collingwood better team than Port, but I think they're in a similar phase of their
peaked a bit
season.
earlier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, after seeing GWS on the weekend,
I think GWS wins.
so do I.
It's gonna it'll be a bit of a boil over because there's going to be 95,000 Collingwood fans there.
Which I think lifts Collingwood.
It does, but also it gets if GWS do what they did to Port in the first quarter and they're up 4 goals early, it's going to be quiet. And when there's that many there and there's not much happening, I reckon it gets in the players' heads more than it does when you're on a roll.
Yeah. Now that I have zero interest in who wins,
Yeah.
I so badly want to see a Collingwood Cup grand final.
Yeah.
And the AFL would be livid if it's GWS Brisbane.
If there's a late free kick that goes the Pies' way to get them to win this week,
You reckon conspiracy?
Not conspiracy. It would just be a fact. That's what they want to happen. Imagine if it's a Brisbane GWS grand final, which I actually think it's going to be. That's the AFL's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
The other thing worse than that is Gold Coast GWS.
The corporates probably wouldn't even fucking show up to that one.
I might get a ticket. Well, who are you tipping?
I think GWS are going to win.
There you go. I didn't think you were going to tip that. I thought you were going to stick with the Pies.
No, I think
The Orange team.
they're going to win.
Big sound. Just quietly, their social media team is
fuck
fire.
Fuck them.
They are so good.
I hate them now.
That Mr. Bean meme, oh my god, that had me in tears.
I think
They're all hitting their straps at the right time of year.
And Collingwood aren't playing their best footy. And
Collingwood are a team that can turn it on. Dacos back will help because they've obviously missed him for 6 weeks and he changes how they play.
yeah, I don't like saying this, but I hope Collingwood win. But
Taylor Adams, he's out with a hammy.
GWS will get up.
Well, it's going to be a fun game to watch Friday night. Let's move Saturday night. Brizzy Lions versus the Blues up at the Gabba, the Fortress.
Hard to beat up there. Well,
haven't
been beaten up there.
Have the Blues got anything left in the tank? I thought late in the game they looked out on their feet. They looked pretty cooked.
Fossey hasn't lost a prelim at the Gabba.
Yeah, but he's not playing this one.
Fossey hasn't lost a prelim at the Gabba.
Well, one of the trends is going to have to end. Fossey's either going to have to lose a...
Or Brisbane are going to have to lose.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that, Fossey gets his Carlton team.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's of course it's against the Lions.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they've got enough left in it. I think they'll have a crack, and I actually think they match up pretty well against Brisbane.
I definitely think they do.
Wiedering is a really good matchup for Danaher. I think for Harris Andrews, he can't really drop off. They'll have Mackay, Curnow and DeConning.
Yep.
Whether or not that helps him. Jack Martin comes back in as well as another guy they have to try and stop. The midfield, they've got balls to go against Neil and McCluggage.
Yeah, well, Brisbane aren't super explosive from stoppage. I think a guy from Brisbane that I don't fucking rate, and I think he could be the difference, is,
Charlie Cameron. Rayner.
Bailey. Yeah.
Zach Bailey.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got him and Lincoln McCarthy. He's one of those guys that they bob up for 2 or 3.
Him and Rayner. Bailey can do some special stuff. Out of nothing, create stuff. So I think they could be the difference. I actually think Colton match up, like we said, really well against them.
I think it's going to be a contrasting styles because Brisbane are very methodical in the way they move the football. They're happy to go a little bit slower, chip mark, and just kind of move their way up the ground. And then they'll get it to when they can get it long inside 50 if they have to. But they like to lower the eyes. Whereas Carlton, they're a little bit, let's get it long and kick it to Charlie. I don't really think there's as much method when the chips are down.
Yeah,
so,
I think just once again the Gabba conditions are going to suit Brisbane.
Yeah.
And Saturday night up there, it'll be hot, steamy, slippery.
Yeah.
Brisbane know how to play it.
I think Brisbane win, but I mean the Blues are like the cheek over West, right? You can't really write them off the way they're going because they've peaked at the right time.
I agree. I want Carlton to win. I think Brisbane win.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how we go. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be 2 really good games of footy.
Yeah, I think that would be. I think they're both flip a coin, which is the best thing about them.
I actually think we've probably got the best 4 teams left in. The teams that are playing the best football are left.
Yep. Oh, definitely at the moment.
And which is always what you want.
And Collingwood are probably 4th on that list.
Yeah, probably.
Mm.
I mean, the only other thing that I think could come back to hurt Brisbane and Collingwood is that they haven't played much footy. You have the pre-finals bye, you win your qualifying, you have another week off. So that's 1 game in a month.
They get Dacos back though, which is the big thing for Collingwood.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an exciting round of footy, that's for sure.
It will.
Just disappointing that I have no team to battle anymore. Fucking useless power!
I was thinking earlier and I was like, I was going to be like, well, at least your team was playing. But then I was like, well, I walked into the stadium and I was like, there's 3 flags from the last 6 years, so I don't even care. Alright, well, let's jump off AFL. Let's move into a little bit of a fun NBA segment. I sent you a message yesterday saying let's do a little NBA sophomore draft. So guys that are in their second year in the league, we're going to do a snake draft. So we're going to start at point guard, and we're going to work our way up to centre, starting 5.
Who's taking the first pick?
We're on rock, paper, scissors because the first pick, it's a pretty big advantage.
It does decide it.
Yeah. Alright, you ready?
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh,
you go rock, paper, scissors,
shoot. Yeah, of course, fucking hell. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yes, bang, let's go. Scissors beats paper every time. Alright, so my point guard, so there's quite a few, there's no point guards. There's almost 1 point guard we're going through it today.
There's also no shooting guards.
Yeah, I found one that's like, he's a shooting guard.
Alright, I know who it's going to be.
Yeah. Alright, so my first pick, point guard, on Benny's sophomore team, Jaden Ivey from the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, clear pick.
Yeah, so a guy that started to come into his own a little bit towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I think he disappointed. I expected more from him.
Yeah.
In his rookie season. I thought he was going to be super explosive, especially when Cade went out.
I think obviously it just took him a little bit of time to find his feet, and he's kind of a bit in the Westbrook mould. So
wasn't as explosive as I thought he was going to be.
Yeah, not as explosive. Doesn't shoot
he was in college
super well, but he'll be better for the run.
Yeah, alright, with my point guard pick, I'm going local. I'm going Dyson Daniels.
Yeah.
He's pretty much the only one there. He had, I think, 1 game where he had 9 assists last year. Showed some signs. I don't think he's never going to be a starting point guard in the league, but...
No, I don't think so. But
it's slim pickings at point guard.
Yeah, it was. He's kind of one of those, almost like the Kyle Anderson mould. Like he doesn't look like he's super quick, but I think he's still got some quickness and some fairly good athleticism.
Yeah.
Just needs to learn to shoot the ball well.
Alright, shooting guard. Here's the guy that I probably wanted to take the most in the draft. Shaden Sharp.
Yeah.
This guy's highlight package at the end of his career is going to be insane.
Oh yeah, he's a freak.
He is a human spring.
I think it's going to be fun with him and Scoot.
Yeah, definitely. Who have you got?
So I've gone Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah. Who's not a shooting guard, but we'll let it slide.
I think he's a shooting guard. I don't think he's big enough to be a forward, like a small forward. He played a lot of shooting guard for them. So you're lucky when we said it was like slim on point guards, I was like, I'll just do a point forward.
Valid.
Alright, so I'll take Mathurin from the Pacers. Small forward, this is an easy one for me. I'm taking my boy Jalen Williams.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That means I get my man here. So I had Jalen Williams, Mathurin, Braun from Denver in this group.
Yep.
But I'm taking Jeremy Sohan.
You're taking...
I fucking love Jeremy Sohan.
There you go. I didn't think you'd take him.
Yep.
No, I do love the way he plays the game.
He's going to be the ultimate glue guy.
He's a spark plug as well. Like, anytime he comes on, something happens.
Doesn't need the ball. Just one of those guys you want to have in your team, and especially with Spurs and Wemby now.
Yeah.
He is going to be a perfect piece for that team.
Yeah. Just on Jalen Williams, I think for him to come in like slid a little bit in the draft, or like people thought they were reaching, and then he's like basically the pick of the draft, like a bit older from like Santa Clara, not the biggest of colleges, but like he just looks like the perfect complementary piece.
Yeah,
for
they
Shane
found a
Giddy.
good one with the right Jalen Williams there.
Yeah, the other one's alright, like he's fine, does a fine job, but this one is just an absolute star. I'm looking forward to what he can do in year 2.
That means he's fallen to me.
Yeah, that was the only issue.
I almost don't want to take him.
You want
I
to take
don't
him?
like him.
Don't you?
Paolo Banchero,
He's a bit of a tosser, but he can play.
he can't
He
play.
can outplay. You look at his numbers last year; they're ridiculous.
They are.
There's only been
I have to take it.
there's like one or two other guys that have ever done what he did last year,
I really like Jabari.
which is who I'm taking,
Yeah.
Jabari Smith. So I mean, when I was adding in, I was like, it doesn't matter who you get in this pick; they're both absolute stars. And Jabari looks like he's taken that step. Only summer league, but he was awesome. Just looked.
His role last year in Houston was fucked. He just stood in the corners,
Yeah,
which I think he gets a bigger role on offense this year.
I
And he's
agree.
so young.
Yeah, it's very raw. I found this one. This is tough. I don't actually know. I still don't know who I'm going to take. So I think the main two for me, there's Chet, Walker Kessler, and then also Jalen Durham.
They're the three that I've got written down.
Yeah, and I think like it shows how good the center position was at last year's draft.
And also the from Charlotte,
Yeah, Williams.
Yeah,
So it was
Mike Williams.
pretty much stacked. And I'm gonna take Walker Kessler because I've seen what he can do. Like I'm very excited to see what Chet can do. But Walker Kessler last year was a beast. If we're going on what they've done, I think you just have to go with Walker Kessler because he looked unbelievable.
Oh,
And he was a steal. They basically you wouldn't even trade him straight up for Gobert.
Ready. No.
And they got picks aplenty on top of it.
My centre position, I'm going Jalen Durham.
I think he was first team all rookie.
He's a beast on the boards. He's pretty raw, gets in foul trouble a bit, but if he can get that right, he's going to be a monster. And I just don't, I'm so fearful of Chet. Not in a good way.
It's kind of like the Wemby thing, right? But he's already had the injury.
Yeah.
So
And he's not as good as Wemby.
we don't know.
Well, no, we know.
we got no idea.
Nah, we know. We've seen some of Chet, and he looked good. I think defensively he's going to be good, but I just see him getting bullied.
I think he's probably got more offensive game away from the basket than Wemby at the moment. I think Wemby doesn't really know how to use his body yet because he's so big and he's so lanky.
Yeah,
I think with Wemby, when you watch him dribble, like saw guys just diving at the ball because it's such a long.
the same thing happens with Chet.
Yeah, but I think he's probably got a little bit of a better fade away, things like that. But I guess we'll see. It's going to be a fun matchup. They'll play each other 4 times this year.
So, recap.
So my team, I've gone Jaden Ivey,
Yeah, you're playing 3-guard lineup.
Benedict Mathurin, Jalen Williams, Jabari Smith, Walker Kessler.
Sorry. Not a 3-guard lineup. You're playing a 1-guard lineup.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
going tall.
Yeah, I like it. I've got Dyson Daniels, Shaden Sharp, Jeremy Sohan, Paolo, and Jalen Durham.
I think my team wins.
I got the best player on the team.
I've got the next 5.
No way! Shaden Sharp over, who would you take? Benedict Mathurin.
Yeah.
Forever going to be a 6th man.
Jalen Williams, Jabari Smith, and Walker Kessler are the next 3 though.
Walker Kessler,
Jalen Williams is better than Shaden Sharp.
yeah.
I don't have to think about that.
No, at this point of his career.
Yeah, that's what we're going on. Who do you
I
want
think
this
Shaden
year?
Sharp will be a better player.
Maybe.
Alright, NFL.
Alright, yeah, let's move straight in. Another big week. I think you got me in the tips. I can't lose. You can't lose, unfortunately.
So, 2 to go.
2 to go. We've
We've
both got Saints.
Yeah.
And then I've gone the Browns.
And I
You've got
under
your
that,
Steelers.
and I went the Steelers.
Yeah,
so I
you
could
flip-flopped over.
let you
so-
sneak away with the draw this week.
Yeah. So it could be 2-0 down, or it could be 1-0 and 1. But All right, let's move in. Surprise of the week, just gone.
Surprise of the week. Probably Washington.
Yeah, the C words, the Commanders.
Yeah.
Massive.
Very surprising.
Well, they were down early. I think they got down 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson threw a bomb. They scored, and then straight away Wilson threw a 75-yard TD to Marvin Mims, his first TD in NFL. And then it was pretty much just score for score.
And the Commanders almost got blindly robbed.
Oh, that Hail Mary from Russell Wilson. Underthrows it by like 5 yards. It gets tipped somehow to the end zone and they catch it.
Double tip.
Oh, that was ridiculous. We were watching it. I couldn't believe
They
it.
didn't deserve the 2-point conversion.
No, they didn't. And yeah, so a huge win for Washington to win in Denver after being down early. And yeah, I think the best thing for them was that they were able to put up 35 points, which has been a real issue for them scoring the ball of late. So massive game for them and gets them to 2-0. Who would have thought? Washington 2-0 to start the season. So massive for them.
That division, the NFC, 7 wins from 8 games already.
Yeah, huge.
I feel like that might be the most
only reason there's
winningest.
one loss basically is because they
Played each other.
Yeah, but I'm not sure how good the Giants are. Their defense at the start of the game, again, they were down 26-3 or something and had to fight their way all the way back.
Yeah.
Game of the week.
Game of the week.
We did think it was going to be KC Jacksonville, and that was a stinker.
Seattle, Detroit.
Yeah, overtime game. Geno Smith came out and he balled out. Him and Tyler Lockett just took over, did what they needed to, a couple of clutch plays.
That might be the game that wins me the tips this week, I reckon.
Yeah, well, you won the 2 overtime games. The 2 overtime games, you got it right. So, I'll blame the Chargers for being shit and useless in late game situations as usual. But what else did you like? I like Buffalo coming out and making a bit of a statement after last week. So they put the points
I didn't like the Cowboys coming out and destroying it. They look so good.
Yeah, their defense is for real.
Yeah, I think they probably come out of the NFC based off what I've seen so far. The Eagles they haven't played a good game yet, but they've come away with 2 wins, so you take that.
I think for Dallas, they haven't really played anyone good. They played the Giants, who I don't think are going to be, they're not as good as we thought they might be. And then they played the New York Jets without Rodgers.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell how good they actually are. And we're not going to know after this week because they play Arizona. So
we got a bit of an easy run. So do Eagles as well.
Super easy schedule to start. But the other one I thought was a huge win. And you tipped it, the Baltimore Ravens. My boy Lamar, he came up with some clutch plays. And that's a massive win. To get a win in that conference is huge because all those teams are pretty solid. So
and that's Cincinnati 0-2.
Yeah, so it's going to be really hard for them to come back from there. So they're going to have to get some wins on the board. And I mean, they play the Rams next week, who
push over.
They push the 49ers most of the way. So all right, well let's go into next week. So let's do our tips. Let's do our tips straight up. So we're going straight into Friday morning football for us. New York Giants at San Francisco 49ers.
49ers there.
49ers for me too. I think in the first quarter, McCaffrey had like 80 yards rushing already and he looks so good. So they're going to be really tough to beat. Tennessee at Cleveland. Cleveland for me as well. Interesting to see how they go tomorrow. Coming off a short break is the only thing that's a bit concerning early in the year, but I think they get the win. Atlanta at Detroit.
Falcons.
I'm going to take Detroit.
Falcons sliding under the radar a little bit.
Ground game versus air game here.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Falcons. I saw a fair bit of the game this morning because they were down, so they were moving the ball quite well, like quite quickly and quite a lot. So it was on red zone a lot.
Yeah.
So I saw a fair bit of their game. And Desmond Ridder just kind of what he needed to do in the second half. He did it. Made some plays with his legs. Made a few in the air. So
I just see Detroit stumble. Or they picked up that one in game against Kansas.
Yeah, and lose an overtime game. So
yeah.
New Orleans at Green Bay.
It's a toughie.
Yeah, without seeing New Orleans again, and Green Bay, they were okay against Atlanta. I mean, they were up by 10 points and then blew the lead, but
I'm going to take the Packers.
I'm going to take New Orleans. It's kind of dependent on if Aaron Jones plays. Aaron Jones is huge for Green Bay, so if he's out, tough. But I'll go New Orleans. Denver at Miami.
Miami.
Yeah, Miami for me. I don't think Denver are going to be able to stop them. So they're just kind of rolling at the minute.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Chargers at Minnesota.
Minnesota.
I'm going to take the Chargers here. I'm not sure about Minnesota. They pushed.
It's not Thursday night or
Philly.
Monday night football, so
true.
there's a chance for Kirk running the ship.
They can't really afford to go 0-3, but I got the Chargers going well. So I think Eckler should be back this week. New England at the New York Jets.
Patriots.
Yeah, Patriots for me. Bill Belichick owns the Jets.
Yep.
Buffalo at Washington.
Buffalo.
Buffalo for me, it turns
I think
into a cage game.
I think it'll be close-ish.
Yeah. Houston at Jacksonville.
Jags.
Yeah, Jags for me. CJ Stroud struggling a little bit early. Indianapolis at Baltimore.
Ravens here.
Ravens for me as well. This one would have been really fun if Anthony Richardson was playing. I don't think he's going to play. Got 2 rushing touchdowns early and then concussion, missed the rest of the game. So Minshew Mania came in
How good is
and
Minshew?
took the rest. Yeah.
His post games are so good.
Ultimate teammate, that guy.
Yeah.
Carolina at Seattle.
Seattle.
Yeah, I think Seattle's back now.
Yeah, I think the Panthers are shit as well.
Yeah. Chicago at Kansas City.
KC.
Yeah, me too. Chicago looked really bad. Dallas at Arizona.
Dallas.
Dallas for me too. Pittsburgh at Vegas.
Pittsburgh.
Oh, I'm going to take Vegas.
Oh.
I don't know why. I don't really have any good reasons for it. I'm just doing it. Maybe Pittsburgh players go out the night before in Vegas and get sourced. Philly at Tampa. Philly for me, but I think this will be close.
I think Philly will find their groove soon.
The issue, I reckon the guy you're going to have to watch is Mike Evans, because him and Baker have a great rapport. I think he went for another 120 and a touchdown today. And you guys don't really have the big, you don't have a big guy to man him up. Like, no corner is really big enough. So I think he could cause some issues.
Yeah.
And then, so they've gone again this year. So 2 weeks in a row, 2 Monday games. The Rams at Cincy. Got to be Cincy. They just have to win. They can't go on for
Yeah. Cincy.
after paying Joe Burrow that much. All right, well, we've got our tips in. What do you reckon game of the week? I've got Vikings Chargers.
Vikings Chargers. Yeah, I like that. And there was another. I like 49ers Giants.
Yeah, that could be a good one. Hopefully Barkley went off today. Hopefully it's not too bad. They're saying it's just a bit of an ankle sprain, so that'd be the best result.
Yeah.
Red Zone special.
I like the Packers Saints for this.
Yeah, that could be a good one. I've got Atlanta Detroit.
Yeah.
And I mean that Vikings Chargers could be a good one.
Shootout as well. Mind you, we thought Jacksonville KC was going to be a shootout.
No points.
It's a fucking soccer score.
No touchdowns from the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then the Toilet Bowl, there's not really any terrible games.
No, I think there could be some blowouts that maybe. Dallas game.
Dallas, Arizona, Chicago at Kansas City, even Carolina at Seattle, that could get ugly.
Potentially.
And Indianapolis at Baltimore.
Pittsburgh, LA, Vegas.
Yeah, you never know.
That could be a bit of a stinker, but
yeah. So
pretty similar this week. Probably got 3 or 4 tips that are different, and they'll be the decider.
That's it. It's all it takes. So we're going to have a couple of TipTitans tips this week. So I'm going to put them out on the socials. So we'll have 2 tips later in the week. So we'll have an AFL tip and an NFL tip. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll put them out later to game time, just so the boys over there can make sure they're making the best informed decision, obviously with team news and things like that. So keep your eyes peeled. We'll put that up later in the week. Have you got an update on Bobby Shiraz before we go?
Oh yeah, Bobby. got a little update this morning. Looks like there's a race on Sunday at Bathurst over 1800. They're wanting a little bit more distance for him.
Yep.
And then also a midweek race. There's just not much in the 1800 at the moment. I think he probably runs midweek.
All right, next week.
Road to the Vic Derby, hopefully.
Hopefully you can find some form.
Come on, Bobby, give me something to fucking barrack for.
Yeah, we'll probably finish 4th, just out of the podium. Alright, well that's all we got time for this week. Big week, looking forward to who's going to be playing off in the AFL Grand Final. We move another week closer to the NBA season as well.
Let's go. Actually, I say let's go so I can be fucking disappointed by the Clips again. I was talking about this on the weekend with somebody like...
You need to change teams.
Philly gave me a Super Bowl, which is great, but they're not like my...
Yeah, you got a bandwagon that Super Bowl season.
No, unfortunately, he fucking got on the Wentz train and he's just the biggest dickhead in the world. Like, Port's obviously number 1, Clips 2. I don't want the luck for my 3rd favourite team.
Yeah.
Like, give me the good sports juju for fucking Port.
Well, hopefully your boys can stay on the park this year with Leonard and George, so we'll see how that all plays out. We'll have a bit more NBA preview coming up soon, so stay with us for that. Looking forward to it. Have a great week, everybody. See you
I'll
next
be a
week.
bit happier next week, I reckon.
You reckon?
Well, fingers crossed. Alright, have a good week, everybody.
See ya.